Alright, hello everyone. This is Alex Loa for the ComicHunter.net and welcome to my first constructed video series. Today we're going to be playing with Esper Control. This list is very similar to Junya Ienaga's list from the last constructed standard GP. The only differences are we have two Blood Barons main deck, whereas he had an extra Syncopate and he had a Warp Physique also in the main. In the sideboard, we have 3 Sync Collectors, 2 Negate and Aetherling, and a Trading Post package for the Control Mirror. And for the aggro matches, we have 2 Fiendslayer Paladins, a Glare of Heresy versus the White decks, and 2 Doom Blades. So we're going to be running through 2 mans, and we're going to get started. Alright, so our opponent's going to go first. We will wish him good luck. And this hand's fine. We have some early interaction with our late game threats. Temple of Triumph. So this could mean one of a few things. He could either be the red-white devotion deck, or he could be the red-white aggro deck. So with Daring Skyjacks and such. We're gonna start off with a Godless Shrine. We're gonna save this temple to scry a little bit later in the game. The later the game goes, the better the scrying is. And if he does deploy a threat here, we want to play an untapped blue source. Alright, so he is red, white, blue control. This is actually the deck that I'm thinking about playing at the next PTQ on the 11th of January. And I'm not excited about this matchup. They have Blue Red tends to have a very good matchup against other control decks because they run Counterflux. So we're going to try to hit every single land drop we can here. If we see a land on the top, we're probably going to scry to the bottom just because we're still going to hit land drops in the next cards after the one that we scry to the bottom, so we don't want to get completely flooded. We still do need a little more action than what we currently have. So I'm very much expecting to lose game 1. The only time I've beaten this deck with this current configuration has been with a ultimated Jace, so that might actually be what we go for here. Temple, well, we're going to scry that to the bottom. We have 4 other lands in hand. I'm going to pass the turn. Very important also, the clock is quite important in this matchup, so we always want to try to stay ahead on the clock. And this is a Disgusting Island. We're going to play tap land this turn. So I can see that our opponent is not F6ing. So I would recommend F6ing in this matchup. Later in the game it becomes a little less efficient to F6 just because you have counters, but alright, Prison Sphere, good draw. Play this tapped. And I think we're going to stop F6ing just to give him the idea that we're holding counter spells in hand. Demir Charm, really not a very good card in this matchup. We're going to hold off on this Blood Baron. We're not going to miss any land drops, so we're going to wait for him to make the first move. And it appears that he's going to miss a land drop. which is always nice to see in the control mirrors. And a perfect draw. Keep hitting our land drops and getting further and further ahead. If he misses a land drop here, he might actually go for a Revelation for 2, or maybe an Azori Charm. That's fine. We don't care about that. And he hits his land drop, so that's fine. We'll play another tap land. We're going straight to the bottom. We have 2 more lands in hand. Seems fair to draw. So we're going to run this Blood Baron out now that we have mana to counter back. Our opponent obviously has not played enough control mirrors, because this is the funnest you can do in Magic, playing lands. If our opponent counters here, we're just going to let it happen. We're fine just keeping this Dissolve in hand. Yeah, that's fine. So Counterflux, this is the card that we hate to see in control mirrors. This card is a complete blowout, but we're pretty happy that he's using it on a Blood Baron of Vizkopa. In this matchup, the onus is on us actually to deploy our threats, because we have to try to overload their counterfluxes, pun intended. Yeah, as I was saying, we can't win the long game unless we ultimate a Jace, so we're gonna try to stick this Elspeth right away. No shortage of detention spheres. Now, if he counters this, I think we might be priced. Oh, he doesn't. No, that's perfect. Alright. We're going to +1 here. We still have our Dissolve up. If he Sphinx's Revelation, I think we just let it happen. Sphinx's Revelation is not the card that you want to be countering in this matchup. Sphere's fine. So remaining in our deck, we have 1 Elspeth and 1 Blood Baron to win this game, aside from the actual Jace. That's fine. Again, Elspeth, not what you want to be countering. This deck is actually very threat light, so for them to run out an Elspeth without a counter backup is pretty good for us. I've seen versions with this as their only win condition, and by taking their Elspeth, they actually have no way to win aside from decking you. And on Magic Online, there's a clock, so that doesn't happen very often, especially if we're ahead on the clock. So we're going to be taking that Elspeth from him, and we're going to be passing the turn. We are definitely going to rev at the end of his turn, even if it's just for 3. We just want to hit our land drops, and if he's willing to counter our Revelation, we're okay with that too. Our opponent down to 20 minutes. At this point, we're up by almost 2 minutes, so as long as we don't take 30 seconds on every decision, we should be fine with staying ahead on the clock. As you can see, no one's very close to winning, and there's already 5 minutes off his clock. So the timer is, or should be, a consideration in this matchup. our opponent to mana, possibly for a Dissension Sphere, or perhaps a Jace. Yep. Again, Jace is fine. If he minuses, we're probably just going to give him every card. Nope, +1. Alright. So, important to note, our opponent only has 1 blue up, so he can't counterflux this Revelation. What he can do is a Charm It, which I am fully expecting him to do. Or not. So we drew a Thoughtseize, which is perfect, and we have every Dissension Sphere we could ever want. Hit our Temple. Put that on top. Alright, so we're going to Dissension Sphere this Jace. If he counters, we're more than happy. Really. Nope, okay. So, he chooses not to counter. We're going to take his Jace. And we're going to Thoughtseize our opponent. Definitely taking Elixir if it's there. If not, we're just going to take the Jace Rev Sphere. We're definitely just going to take this Revelation. We don't care about this Jace, we have so many ways to answer it. So we will take this, and we will pass the turn. Search Charm is fine. So the top of our deck is Dissolve. We're still not going to counter this Jace even if we have 2 Dissolves, because again, Jace just doesn't matter. My -2s. So we're going to give him this Counterflux if he wants it. And he takes the Counterflux. That's fine. So currently in his hand, we know about the Gilgate, Last Breath, Detention Sphere, and Counterflux. These 2 cards not doing much. One option would be to destroy these 2 creatures and attempt to kill Jace, but we already know that he's going to Last Breath if that happens, so there's not much point in doing that. Our opponent considering if he wants to blow his last counter on Cinch Sphere. If I was him, I would not, but I don't know his exact list. He lets it resolve, and we pass the turn. Again, we have these 2 removal spells, so we don't want to attack, just because if he does play Planeswalker, and we want to attack it eventually, we have that option. Alright, so that's a card we already knew about. So he still has Counterflux. Now we're going to be waiting to hit our Elspeth. Now, if he counters this Elspeth, we literally have one way to win this game. So we're going to hold off on this Elspeth. Maybe hit a Thoughtseize later in this game. So now we are behind on land. We have 10 land. Our opponent has quite a bit more. He has 13. So we're going to be playing a little bit of Drago. I don't expect my opponent to do anything anytime soon. Demir Charm. So I think at this point we can start Demir Charming our opponent. If we are able to hit his elixir, we are in a very good spot to win this game. Again, he's up 4 cards on us. Five. This could possibly be an Elspeth. So he has no red remaining, so he can't counterflux. Oh no, never mind. He has 2 red. I think we do want to dissolve this. First things first, we're gonna. Do we want to Demir Charm first? I think we're going to Elspeth. If we can Detention Sphere this, he's in trouble. So I think we're gonna let this resolve. Yeah, we're gonna let this resolve. He can plus. So he has 1, possibly 2 counterfluxes up. And he is getting in there. We're gonna oblige and block. Alright, so we're gonna Demir Charm him here. Hopefully gonna mill him out. Again, as we mentioned, Demir Charm is really not a very good card in this matchup, so this is probably one of the better modes that we can do. We're going to leave him with a Supreme Verdict. And we're going to do it again. At this point, I'm sure he knows what I'm trying to do. Yeah, we're going to give him the Supreme Verdict again. So, unfortunately, we didn't hit his elixir. But, that's fine. We have Sphinx Drive. We're going to Detention Sphere this Elspeth. And if he counterfluxes, we just play our own Elspeth. Alright, that's fine. We'll play an Elspeth. Unfortunately, we do not currently have Dissolve up. But now we do get to F6, which is nice. Now we have 2 Hero's Downfall left to deal with this Elspeth. And we also need to make sure that he does not resolve his Elixir of Immortality that we expect that he has in his deck. So if he plays Elixir here, that would be unfortunate for us. But a Jace would be fine. Detention Sphere, really? Obviously he doesn't know how this card works. We are going to be quite happy with this. Yes, I bet he is pretty mad about this. He just 2-for-1'd himself. He got his own Elspeth. Remember that if you Detention Sphere one of your opponent's cards and you have the same card, it takes all the copies. Our opponent passes, which we are delighted with. So we're just going to pass again. So our opponent revving. Again, we're just going to let this happen. The most important thing is going to be to counter uh, his elixir. So he has 1, 2, 3 counterfluxes in the yard, which means that he won't be able to resolve a elixir through our double dissolve unless he obviously has multiple is it charms or syncopates left, possibly a dissolve. Assemble the Legion. That's a little unfortunate. We have Jace to deal with it. I think we have to let this resolve. We have 4 Jaces in our deck and we haven't hit one yet. And we have this Sphinx's Revelation, so what it will do, we'll let this resolve. And we'll Sphinx's Rev at the end of his turn. He's going to be discarding. Pretty fortunate that he hasn't actually played his elixir yet. I'm going to rev for 6 here. And if he counterfluxes, we can't actually counter that back, so that's unfortunate. Alright. So we are in a little bit of trouble here. Discarding Wrath and Sacred Foundry. Okay, so we're going to have to find a Jace here pretty soon. He's going to be hitting us for about 7 or 8 within the next 2 turns. We're going to last breath this guy, because he is going to be the one that deals us the most damage over time. And there's the Jace. So now that we have this Jace, I don't think we can actually lose this game. If he detention spheres it, we could dissolve. Because he's played all his 4 counterfluxes, I think we'll be fine to leave just 1 dissolve in hand to counter his elixir. Our opponent down to under 13 minutes. And he has 14 cards left. We have 31, so as long as we stay above him, we should be fine. Tension Sphere, yeah, we're going to have to counter that. We're going to bottom that land. So he has 1 Tension Sphere left in the deck. Divination's fine. Another divination is quite alright with us. She's just prolonging his agony. Detention Sphere number 3. So he's got 8 cards left, 9 cards in hand. If he doesn't play Detention Sphere, that's perfect. We're quite alright with that. He's gonna have to discard. Discards land and land. And here's Downfall. Perfect. So we're going to plus our Jace again so that we don't die. Pass the turn. Elixir of Mortality. We're gonna have to counter that. So let's see if he has something to stop us. He does not. I'm gonna put the Spring Break on the bottom, and I think we've just locked up this game. If he is able to find his last Attention Sphere before we can find a second Jace, we could be in a little trouble, but if that doesn't happen, we should be okay. Let's not forget to plus our Jace, and at this point we can just F6. Alright. Temple, we're gonna scry to try to find another Jace. Bottom this land. Again, we're not out of the woods yet. If he does find his Attention Sphere, he's gonna have enough guys to kill us on the following turn. And tapping mana is not what we want to see. Oh, Jace is fine. He's going to be looking for his final Detention Sphere. So if he minuses, we're just going to give him every card. And he finds it. Alright, so we're going to click OK. So he can either take all of the cards or none. And he takes them all. So he Detention Spheres. That's fine. He's going to take his own Jace. And how many guys? Yeah, if he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 guys. It's going to be a close one. So I think we possibly might have wanted to keep that Wrath on top. Wrath does save us from a gruesome death. Hopefully he attacks with all his guys, uses up his clock, and doesn't understand that the Jace trigger, even though Jace has left the battlefield, still remains in effect. And he does. So he will be under 10 minutes. What? How did that happen? I definitely plus my Jace. Plus to my Jace, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I'm going to have to look at the video again because I'm sure my Jace was on 7. Blood Baron of Escopa, not going to do it. So, pretty unfortunate that we lost this game. I feel like we played it very well, but sometimes that's just the way it goes. We're just going to play this Blood Baron. And we will F6. Yeah, I really don't know what happened there. Maybe in the comments you can mention maybe I did forget to plus my Jace, but I feel like I did. I don't know what happened there. Maybe it's a moto bug. Our opponent tapping mana. Turn and burn. That's fine. He gets more guys. You F6. Alright, well, he's got plenty of attackers. And we are dead. Turn 24. So, for this matchup, we are going to be bringing in 3 Sin Collectors, the Glare of Heresy, 2 Negates, an Aetherling, and our Trading Post package. Cards we don't want are obviously the Supreme Verdicts, Last Breath is terrible, Devour Flesh, Demir Charm's not good, and we will be boarding out an Elspeth. And now we have one more cut. It's probably between this Blood Baron and this Syncopate. Or we might actually want to leave this Elspeth in and maybe board out 2 Blood Barons. They tend to leave the Wraths in, and boarding out all of your creatures makes the Wraths very unexciting. I think we're going to keep the Syncopate in. It's a counter. And that makes 60. I think that's fine. I think this looks pretty good. Sin Collector is the best card we have against him. The only way he has to counter it is Counterflux. So it's either that we take his Counterflux permanently, or he counters it. So this is what we're going to run. And we'll be back for game 2.